What's going on, YouTube? I got a short one for you here today because there's not a whole lot going on, to be honest. Got some interesting political / financial news with the big beautiful bill has passed the Senate and now moves on to the House, basically, to process they call reconciliation, where they're basically gonna agree on what they're gonna vote on between the House and the Senate, and then they're looking to have it passed by the end of the week. I didn't want to make another video just talking about what's in the bill, what's going to go one way or the other, honestly, until it's solidified and actually voted upon and done, so we can just be done with it, because otherwise we just keep going back and forth here. I feel like there's no real point in doing that. So if the House passes it, Trump wants it on his desk by the 4th, so that would be Friday. So we'll see if that happens. I have a feeling it's going to happen, and then we can break it down from there, but same old, no tax on tips, Social Security, child tax credit increase. There's some interesting stuff in there, but overall, just blow the spending up. What I wanted to get here and ask anybody watching this was, it seems like the agreed sense from anybody who I think can be taken serious on either left or right politically about the financial aspect of this is, we're never going to quit spending more money than we spend right now. So we're just going to be stuck in this cycle, I guess, until it explodes. Everyone has made peace with this. The way they get these bills passed, whatever you want to call them, people say the bill has a bunch of pork in it. They're omnibus. It's just a bunch of different provisions to get the votes. So basically, you just promise a bunch of people a bunch of money until you get enough people to vote for it that you can pass it. And then there's your agenda, and you spend even more money because you had to spend money on people to get them to agree to vote. That's just how it goes. Even the fiscally conservative people will come in, whether they're Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. They're going to come in and say, well, if you give me money for my specific thing I really like, maybe I'll consider it, and then they end up voting yes for it. So there you go. I think there was not a single Democrat that voted for this. Republicans don't need any Democrat votes to get it passed. So I don't think there's going to be any Democrats, just out of whether they like it or not, which there's definitely some of them that do like the spending increases where they're at. They're not going to vote for it just out of principle. Really is just like a tribal, I don't want to agree with Donald Trump, blah, blah, don't want to give him the win. And that's what it's going to be. Is what it is. Don't really care. The problem is coming from this system, the method that we do things here, and I don't know how it's going to change. I don't want to complain just for the sake of complaining, but honestly, it's just ridiculous that we do this every so many years, where we say, hey, the debt's crazy, the budget's all out of whack, we got to do this and that, we got to balance it, and then the next administration comes in and says, how about let's not do that, and let's spend even more money. And I was listening to Shapiro earlier today, and I think he broke it down accurately, where it's like either you were voting for Democrats, where you got no tax cuts, probably increases in taxes, and way more spending, or you voted for the Republicans, and you got tax cuts and slightly less spending than the Democrats. No matter what you voted for, you're getting spending increases, and the debt's going to keep getting worse. And the problem, the hole we're in, is just going to keep getting dug deeper and deeper right from underneath your feet. And the only difference seems to be slight tax different policies regarding taxes, and maybe you pay a little less in taxes. I'm starting to think, honestly, does it matter? I don't think it really does, one or the other. I can't personally fix it. You'd have to, I guess, get enough politicians elected to sit up there and be like, no, I'm not voting for it. If we're increasing the debt that we're taking on, I'm just not voting for it. So figure out a way to make it work. And then they normally just bypass you and probably just get you voted out, and then that's the end of that. So who knows? I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. Does it feel hopeless? Because it feels a little hopeless on my end, as far as like fiscal responsibility aspect of, hey, you got to keep your checkbook balanced or you're fucked, but the government just kind of does whatever it wants, and you pay for it, and we're just stuck in this cycle forever and ever. So I don't know. Purely on the political side, there was a Supreme Court ruling, basically, that I don't know how much you've been following it. I have only been following it briefly, but the implications are pretty big. So
the amount of times the Trump admin has gotten sued is insane, for one, but it's more than every other presidential administration in history, basically. And they keep getting sued. They bring these court cases in district courts. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert. I'm just giving a brief overview because to be honest, that's all I understand. These district courts can review the case and then issue an injunction, which basically stops the federal government, stops the president from doing whatever they were doing through their executive order or whatever it was, and it puts it on pause until it can be reviewed. The Supreme Court just had a case brought to them, and they ruled in favor of Trump, or in favor of the president in this case, really, because if there was a Democrat in office or any other party, anybody else in power, they would benefit from this too. The old system was Trump issues an executive order. If it gets taken to court in one of these districts in a state, it gets brought up there. The judge in that court can issue that injunction and stop the federal government at the state level. So it's a federal court within a state, and they're putting a stop to what the president's doing, basically, as a federally appointed judge. Basically, this case that just got brought to the Supreme Court was the presidency arguing they shouldn't be able to do that. And the Supreme Court sided with them, found that they should not be able to do that. They can issue an injunction, but it doesn't stop the president from acting on his executive order until the case is brought to the Supreme Court. So the executive order have to be brought through the process, through all the courts to get to the Supreme Court. However that works, appealed and all that. And then it's brought up to the highest level. And then when the Supreme Court rules on it, and if they say the president cannot do that, that is when the executive order is ended. So, all that to say, this all got brought up over the birthright citizenship case, is I believe is what was going on. They're arguing Trump with his deportation orders and things like that. That's what got an injunction placed on it, which, like I said, he's got a bunch of them placed on random, all kinds of executive orders they've passed. And this one was this specifically, but then it got escalated to the Supreme Court. They have won this case. The Supreme Court will probably end up hearing this case anyway. And whether they side with who, I don't know. Like I said, no legal expert here. But the implication is the big part. So the big part is the executive branch can now issue these orders and follow through with them until they're heard by the Supreme Court. Obviously, if they were something crazy, I think they would get escalated to the Supreme Court pretty quick. Like, they're still, like, I don't know, I feel like everybody has this bad habit of just getting ridiculous with everything they do, and I don't know, blowing things out of proportion, and everything is the end of the world. It's just annoying, honestly. It's just too much. But it is a win in the sense, and I think it tracks that a federal judge at a circuit court shouldn't be able to just stop the elected president of the United States. Like, I don't think that's the right way to go about it, in my humble opinion, I guess. It makes sense the president should be able to put it into place in order and follow through with it and enforce it. And if it's so crazy that it's really like a public opinion, you're going to lose public support immediately. You do something too crazy. But two, it'll get escalated to the Supreme Court. If it's too crazy, if it violates the Constitution, the Supreme Court comes in and says, cut that shit, you're not allowed to do that. And if you did something too crazy, then Congress can impeach you and all that kind of stuff. So there's checks and balances for a reason. I have pretty solid trust and faith in that process, that if they went too wild, they would put a stop to that pretty quickly, and I'd be the first one to come out and be like, holy shit, this is pretty wild if they went too far with it. But this right now is not too far with it. We'll see what the Supreme Court says in the end about the birthright citizenship thing, but overall, there's going to be some wide sweeping changes in the sense the president kind of gained a big chunk of power back. Like I said, Trump was getting hit with these left and right more than anybody else, so it's really just... And I think I was listening to some stat where it was like almost all of these injunctions came out of 5 circuit courts, specifically 5 circuit courts, which I'm assuming are in California and New York. So like liberal state circuit court judges are stopping the president just because they can, basically. I don't know. It's turned into this politically that if I'm on the other side, if I'm the other party, I just disagree with everything you say no matter what. whether or not it's really right or wrong, and I just find a way to justify it. So is that what was happening? I don't know. But you let me know if you think there's some big implications. Like I said, I know that's 2 questions for one video to talk about in the comments, but I'd appreciate it if you left a comment. Leave a like on the video if you got something out of it. Dislike it if you didn't. I've been saying it the last couple weeks. I'm gonna try to get back to regular videos, but I don't know. Things are a little bit hectic. Had the baby's ear tube surgery last week, so everything got thrown off that. But hopefully we'll be back to regular videos, 1 a day. And hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. And subscribe and come back. Check out the videos. I'd appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow.